Hello, friends. Today we will learn some facts about the life of Shakespeare. As you can see, that he was born in 1564, and his year of his death is 1616. So, William Shakespeare was a renowned English poet, playwright, and actor, born in 1564 in Stratford upon Avon. His birthday is most commonly celebrated on the 23rd of April, which is also believed to be the date of his death as well in 1616. Shakespeare was a prolific writer during the Elizabethan and Jacobean ages of British theatre, sometimes called the English Renaissance or early modern period. So Elizabethan times are also called Renaissance as well. Now, William Shakespeare would have lived with his family in their house on Henry Street until he turned 18. When he was 18, Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway, who was 26. Actually, it was a rushed marriage because Anne was already pregnant at the time of the ceremony of marriage. Together, they had three children. Their first daughter, Susanna, was born 6 months after the wedding and was later followed by twins, Hamnet and Judith. Hamnet died when he was just 11 years old. Then comes the lost years in Shakespeare's life records as a writer. Shakespeare's career jump started in London, but when did he go there? We know Shakespeare's twins were baptized in 1585, and that by 1592 his reputation was established in London. But the intervening years are considered a mystery. Scholars generally refer to these years as the lost years. Now, the first printed works by Shakespeare were Venus and Adonis. It was written in 1593, and The Rape of Lucrece, which he wrote in 1594. These two Shakespeare's poems were both dedicated to Henry Wriothesley. He was the Earl of Southampton, who had become his patron as well. So these are the first two printed poems by William Shakespeare. The theatre company. Now, after the plague epidemic subsided, Shakespeare and other actors who had previously belonged to different companies combined to form the Lord Chamberlain's Men. This new theatre company was under the patronage of the Lord Chamberlain and Richard Burbage. They starred as its leading actors. As a member of the troupe, Shakespeare also became a sharer in the company's overall income. For almost 20 years, William Shakespeare was its regular dramatist, producing on average two plays a year. Shakespeare stayed with the Chamberlain's Men, which would later evolve into the King's Men under the patronage of King James I for the rest of his career. He also became a member of the syndicates which owned the Globe and the Blackfriars theatres. So he was a part of the shareholders in Chamberlain's Men. He was part of the group of the Globe Theatre. He was part of the group of Blackfriars Theatre. For all of them, he used to work. Now, Shakespeare's Patrons. As a member of the acting company called the Chamberlain's Men, which from 1603 were known as the King's Men, Shakespeare enjoyed the patronage of the Lord Chamberlain. and George Carey second, Lord Hunsdon, and then of James I. So these were the prominent people of Shakespeare's times, and they were his patrons as well. He used to have the patronage of all these people. It was the time of Queen Elizabeth I also. So Elizabeth I was an active and generous patron of the theatre. She had her own acting company called the Queen's Men and stood against the Puritans who wished to close down the theatres. Without her support, the Elizabethan theatres would not have survived. No, because that was the time in Shakespeare's times there was a conflict between Protestant and Roman Catholics. So Puritans they were trying their level best to close down the theaters, but since Queen's patronage was there, her own personal interest was there, so they couldn't close down the theaters. In the 1590s, court performances by acting companies became popular, and Shakespeare's company was selected more than any other. Shakespeare does not refer to Elizabeth very often. He makes only one direct reference to her in Midsummer Night's Dream, a fair vestal throned by the west. So there is no as such direct mentioning of the queen's name. And when Elizabeth died, Shakespeare wrote a no elegy for her, and unlike most of the poets of the day, as you can see, it is not easy to determine Shakespeare's relationship to Elizabeth. 1. It appears that he worked for her, as she demanded, but there is no indication that their relationship was closer than that. So, if we say that they had any sort of close relationship apart from the business that he used to write, and for her as well, there was nothing like that in the and as it's mentioned. So the works by Shakespeare produced most of his known works between 1589 and 1613. His early plays were mainly comedies and histories, and these works remain regarded as some of the best works produced in these genres. He then wrote mainly tragedies until about 1608, including Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, and Macbeth, considered some of the finest works in the English language. In his last phase, he wrote tragicomedies, also known as romances, and collaborated with other playwrights. So, this is a brief introduction about Shakespeare, his works, and his times. Um, there is immense information is there about Shakespeare, which will come to know in our later videos, inshallah. Um, and as far as this brief introduction of Shakespeare is concerned, that's it for now. Thank you, and Allah Hafiz.